Hey, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever you're watching this. Welcome to the Common Room. And as you will be able to tell, today's session is slightly different from our usual. So usually you'd be expecting to have a live panel, a big discussion about a certain topic. So today we've decided to switch it up a little bit, and we wanted just to reach out to some young people to ask them what their Christian journey has been like. So, the Christian journey, expectations versus reality. Sometimes it's not always what we think it would be. So, we're going to hear from just a few people who we reached out to, and they've been willing to just share part of their testimony with us. So roll the clips.
Hello, Common Room. Some of the expectations that I had of being a Christian was not able to have fun, which is not true. And actually Christians are able to have fun and more meaningful conversations with people. That's what I found. And my expectation of Christianity was that supernatural things happen only with other people, and I found that also not to be true, because I had a supernatural encounter in my life where my sister was delivered from demonic possession, and that was a personal experience that I had. Another expectation was that if you're nice to people, they'll be nice to you back, which is completely not true. Even if you are a Christian and trying to be as nice as you can to people, they still can, they can still not reciprocate, and that's not what you find in real life. So that teaches us that we should be nice even to those who are not nice, and I think that's one of the things that teaches us that the patience and all other qualities that we need as Christians. And the last one is that Christians should know better. I thought that Christians should know better in terms of many things, reading enough and practicing, Christianity, but we also struggle, and with either sin or laziness or temptation. So it's not just something that happens to other people, but to Christians as well. So that's my take on this.
Yes, what's good, family? My name's Adam, and I'm going to be speaking about my Christian journey, the expectations versus the reality. And so I'll be honest, when I first came to Christ, I was thinking that every single day is going to be a life, I'm just going to be gassed all the time, I'm going to be on cloud nine, I'm going to be excited, I'm going to be inspired. So, in fact, very much, the first few days, the first few weeks, first couple of months was very much like that. I'd pick up my Bible and, I'd be reading and I'd be like, yes, this is great, man. It's excited, I'm inspired, man. I'm on cloud nine, this is great. And, I was kind of using that as like a guidance that I was on the right track, that, if I feel excited, if I'm feeling inspired, then that means that I'm doing something right. I'm on the right lines. And great. And that's what kind of I was basing, my Christian experience on, me feeling excited. But, there were some days when I would wake up and, I'd read the Bible, maybe even read the same text, maybe even read the same passage, right? The same chapter. And I'm not getting that excited, cloud nine, feeling. And then I was kind of thinking that I must have done something wrong, because I'm not getting this excited feeling. I'm not getting this inspiration that I got before. So I was thinking like, have I done something wrong? And I was very discouraged over that. Until, I realized that, the Christian life isn't so much defined by how excited you're feeling or how, inspired you're feeling or how many times you're on cloud nine. And don't get me wrong, there are going to be days like that when you're just feeling gas, right? But no, the Christian life is really defined by just having a peaceful, restful trust in Jesus and having faith in him, that even though you may not be feeling the way you want to, or even in spite of not feeling anything, you still have that trust and you still have that faith that if Jesus began that work in you, he'll be faithful to complete it. And so that was my expectations versus my reality, and I hope that helps somebody.
Hi everyone, I became a Christian about 15 years ago. I can still remember sitting in church and thinking, this is the place where all our prayers are answered. I'm at the right place, with the right people, doing the right thing. Many years later, I realized that yes, our prayers are answered, but sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes the answer is no, and sometimes the answer is wait. I lost my mom about 4 months ago, and I remember praying consistently many times a day for over a year, and that prayer wasn't answered. But I know that God is always with us, that he will make everything work together for our good, and that his answer to our prayers is always the best answer.
Hey, my name is Nahash. I always thought Christianity for me would mean tension-free, and every day I'm realizing that tension builds up as I have more faith in Christ. I realize that there's so much that you're going to lose when you actually live a life of faith. You're going to lose your friends, you're going to lose things or people or whatever. You're going to have to lose a certain way of life. And that's something I hadn't thought about. But how else are we going to be able to die for Christ if we are not willing to lose all these other things? You know, dying is like the top thing. If you were to be killed for Christ, then all these other things don't even matter. And for me, that tension is something I never thought about. But it's been so fulfilling just knowing that even with the tension, there can still be a lot of peace. And that's my experience.
Personally, my expectation was that when I pray, things are actually going to go to plan. Things will go right, like things will go the way that I've prayed. So as a Christian growing up in church, every time I prayed, I guess you could say it was faith. Had faith that it would always happen the way I asked it to happen. And then I did have a few experiences where the thing I was praying hard for, it didn't happen the way I thought it would. And then I just had to go back to God but wait, I thought, this is what being a Christian was all about. You pray and things happen. But then I had to realize that it's not so much of praying to God and things will happen the way you think it will happen. Just knowing that God hears me, God listens, and God does what he sees fit. He does what is best for everyone, and that may not necessarily look like what you wanted it to look like, but he's definitely got a better plan. The Christian journey for me, the reality has looked more like letting go of what I think I know, and just letting God do what I know he knows to do, if that makes sense.
Hiya, it's Elroy, and my answer to the expectations versus the realities of my Christian journey started when I was a lot younger, and there were certain elders and deacons in my church growing up that memorized the Bible from cover to cover, back to front. They knew every single character and what they were going through in the psyche, and what the characters were eating for breakfast, dinner and supper. And I always looked up to them as, oh wow, they're such good Christians. When I grow up, I aspire to be like them, and be as far as they are in their Christian journey. But as you grew up and grew older, I realized that just because you have all that knowledge, that bountiful wisdom, or so I thought, that doesn't grant you any guarantee from the snares of Satan, and sadly quite a few of those people that I referred to, they left the church, and that struck to me, that did strike something in me, and it told me that every single person's journey is different, and that's kind of the beauty of that, is that you can't always compare your journey to someone else's journey, because your relationship with God is personal to only you. I heard a quote that said being a Christian is a lifestyle, and it takes a lifetime, so the earlier you start, the longer it takes for you to master. And of course we cannot do it through our own strength, but by the grace of God we can make it there. So
hi, I'm Chelsea, and my Christian journey kind of started when I was in my second year of uni, but before and prior to that I was sort of Christian but didn't have a relationship with God. So when I kind of got to know God, I thought my expectation of Christian lifestyle was that everything was going to go perfectly, everything was going to be amazing, you're always going to be on a constant high because you've made a really good decision, you're following God, why wouldn't it be good? He's good. But I can say that I've really had my share of struggles since accepting Jesus. I know that just before I got baptized, I was on crutches, and I even ended up being baptized on crutches, and since that point until now I've had health struggle after health struggle, and I'm going to be honest, it can be really depressing, and it has been hard to keep being faithful, to keep saying okay, just keep pushing forward, because as I said, the expectation was that everything was going to go well, but it hasn't. But I can honestly say that even though it's not been the easiest, it has been bearable, and I feel like I'm so much stronger than I would have been without God, because being physically ill also affects your mental health, it affects your spiritual health as well, and your emotional health a lot of the time for me. But having that relationship with God has just kept me going, kept me strengthened, and I can honestly say that all my strength comes from Him.
The Christian journey, my expectations versus reality. Well, for me, I got baptized in 2017, and before I got baptized in, I think October it was, I was dealing with a lot of sin, you could say, and I thought, you know what, I can't wait to get into the pool, I can't wait to be baptized, because once I'm baptized, all of these struggles, all of these problems go away. So then I got baptized, and the reality was all my troubles, all my problems, the sins I was dealing with didn't go away, but actually they actually intensified. Satan actually came after me even more because I actually committed my life to him. So for me, my expectation was after I'm baptized, after I gave my life to Christ, life would be plain sailing, but it's anything but that. But actually it's been much more difficult, but God's given me the power by faith that I can overcome everything. So that's my expectation plus the reality of what actually happened.
I think one thing that I expected on the Christian journey was for life to become very smooth. For example, take a morning that I would get up, have devotion, have a wonderful sit-down breakfast, take a nice stroll to wherever I'm going, feeling like I'm almost gliding along the pavement, and then when I get to my destination, that my day goes perfectly to plan. That is simply not the case in my experience. That, rather than a sit-down breakfast, some days is breakfast to go. Or rather than strolling along the pavement, I'm definitely running. And in terms of days going to plan, sometimes that is simply not the case. However, in my reality, I've noticed that God always comes through in those challenging and perplexing situations. That there are things that He enables me to learn that I might not learn otherwise. And that God is so merciful in making everything work together for the good. I think I expected that because Jesus was in the boat of life with me, as it were, that everything was going to be smooth. But instead, the reality is this, that in this boat of life, there are storms that we are going through. But because Jesus is in the boat, it's going to be okay.
Greetings to the common room. Tristan Armstrong here. I was given the question of my Christian experience of the expectation versus reality. I think for me personally, as a Christian, what was my expectations of the Christian life was me knowing all the prophecies of Daniel Revelation, as well as the health message, Sabbath reform, dress reform, and all the reforms that's of our church, the Seventh-day Adventist Church. But in reality, at the end of the day, I mean, it's part of the Christian journey. I mean, it's good to know all these things, health reform, dress reform, Sabbath reform, and all knowing the prophecies, Daniel Revelation, and whatever else. But at the end of the day, in reality, Jesus has to be included along the process of you knowing these things. Because if you don't have Jesus, then you know the prophecies, you practicing dress reform, health reform, and all these reforms of our church, of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, it's not going to mean nothing. But reality, Jesus for me personally should be the benefiting factor of why you do these things or so. But just want to share that with the common room. Blessings to you.
Dear friend, I don't know if my words will speak to you or you'll resonate with what I've been through. But thank you in advance for listening in kind to the inner ramblings of my mind. My journey with God started before I was even conscious of it. Introduced to my Maker by my parents who saw it fit, my brother and I were dressed up neatly and taken to his house, a place called church. We went through the motions of Sabbath school, impressing grown-ups with our memory verse. Most of the times though, I just wanted to sit with friends and color before falling asleep halfway through divine hour. I remember waking for the children's story and the excitement of holding the offering basket to drop my penny. I'll sigh now and say, the good old days. Because as I grew, I started questioning these ways. I mean, I got really good at dressing myself neatly, though there was truly chaos inside of me. You see, I had expectations of winning most battles of temptation and being exceptional at managing my emotions. I would walk a clean path and do a good deed every so often, in essence, unadmittedly to satisfy my own conscience. In reality, I silently battled with low self-esteem and internal insecurity, trying to prove myself as what to whom society? To me, I'm not sure really. It began to seem like repetitive actions, and the world around me had what looked like better attractions. And since the grass looked greener on the other side, I tasted that apple called curiosity and started to explore. My eyes were opened and I became more mature. But what's weird is that after a late Friday night out, I'd still go to his house Sabbath morning, wearing a mask of repetition like an unfaithful wife. I believe that's called cheating. But I proceeded greeting his other children with a kiss to the cheek and a happy Sabbath. I really felt like Judas. Yes, that's how mixed up I felt I was. I felt like there were two people inside of me, and I couldn't decide who I wanted to be. For God so loved the world, yes, but did he personally love me? This mixed up mess of a sinner, really? And so I ask you this. Did you know it's possible to visit someone every week but still not really know them? Did you know it's possible to learn Bible verses but not truly understand them? And all the while I had a loving, protective Father guiding my path, countering my silly maneuvers, which could be better if only I would start actually listening. So one day I stopped shouting and screaming, "God, are you there?" and truly tuned my heart in. Listening, tuning out the world, I started reflecting. Less on myself and more about who God is. Finding solace in his words and his character, it hit home. God lives. He is not distant but ever present. He lives. In charge of every instant, given my value existence, he lives. My life is not about me caught up in my thoughts and my own perceived reality. I live because he lives and breathed into my dry bones necessity. I was created on purpose with a purpose. And so when my eyes play tricks, I'll trust the words he speaks to me. When it looks like I'm not wanted, I believe I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. When it looks like I'm not needed, I believe in Jesus, his life on Calvary's cross he gave. When it looks like I'm alone, I believe he will never leave nor forsake me. To wrap it up, casting crowns, sing it nicely. Not because of who I am, but because of what he's done. Not because of what I've done, but because of who he is. I am a flower quickly fading, here today and gone tomorrow. A wave tossed in the ocean, a vapor in the wind. Still he hears me when I'm calling. He'll catch me when I'm falling, and he tells me who I am. I am his. I am his. And as I continue this journey of molding, there are many more refinements to be made to my clay. I am who God says I am. Now tell me, who are you today?
Thank you to everyone who took their time to be real with us. Our Christian journeys may look different from our expectations and reality, but let me share an encouragement that is found in Acts 20 verse 24, which says, "However, I consider my life worth nothing to me. My only aim is to finish the race and complete the task the Lord Jesus has given me, the task of testifying to the good news of God's grace." We all have seen the grace and the love of God, so may that be an inspiration to us all, that during and along this Christian journey that we have, may we have that aim to share God's love and his grace to others as well. So thank you so much for participating and for listening to the short video we have for you today. Thank you and God bless.